Hey everybody, welcome to Season 3 of Song Revolution. Get ready to ramp up your songwriting. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm John Chisum, president of Nashville Christian Songwriters. We're in our 10th year. It's just so incredible. I don't think I would have had the faith or the foolishness to even pray for what God has done in these 10 years. It's so exciting to look back on hundreds and maybe even thousands of people that we've trained, that we've been able to encourage through our podcasts, blogs, articles, everything that we've been able to do. Our 4 training programs. It's just so exciting. And now a record label called NCS Collective and a studio, and we're here in the podcast studio. It's just so exciting. So if you have not taken the time, I encourage you to go back to the archives of our podcast and just take advantage of over 200 episodes with incredible people like Matt Marr, Kim Walker-Smith, Bear Reinhardt, Bryant Urich, and a bunch of other great people that I think you're going to really love. And check out the NCS 2025 Songwriting Guide in the show notes and follow along. Hey, Bryant.
Hey, man.
I had to throw you in there.
Yeah, wow. I got added to the list.
Hey, yeah, you got elevated right there.
That's
yeah.
great.
So many great shows when I look back at the podcast, and you helped me start the show.
It's true.
Back in 2017.
8 years ago.
I can't
Insane.
believe that. It's just crazy.
Almost, I'm pretty sure we started like in April or March, I think, of that year. So we're right
I
at
think so,
right
yeah.
at 8 years.
Crazy. Would you have ever thought that we'd still be here?
Insane.
And you've been back with me basically on the staff here at NCS for 3 years this year.
Yeah. Yeah, this summer.
Oof. You tired of me yet?
Crazy.
Don't
Let's cut to a break real quick.
Cut to a break. We'll be right back.
No, man, we're just getting started here. I feel
Aren't
like
we, though?
we've got so many cool things going on, and yeah.
We really do. Well, I love where we are in the year. We're following our NCS 2025 Songwriting Challenge Guide. This month is all about killer ideas and unforgettable titles, because that's where songs start. I loved our show 2 weeks ago, where I'm actually picking up with part 2 this week of that. And then sandwiched in between was Emily Hostetler. What a great show that was.
Yeah, she's so great.
And,
Heaven on Earth Festival.
You were out there last year with Eau Claire. So talk a little bit, give us a quick kind of a picture of what that was last year and what it could be this year, because it's not too late to register.
Yeah, it's coming up July 16th, I believe. It's 2.5 days. It's in one of the most beautiful places. I mean, their whole thing is to do it kind of more intimate music experiences in beautiful places. So Heaven on Earth. Jackson Hole, Wyoming is where they started. The last year and this year are in Moab, Utah, which is just like beautiful red clay mountains, just beautiful. Arches National Park is close by. And it's 2 nights of music, and then they kind of send everybody off with like a worship service collectively that last morning. But it's a beautiful time. Community, it's small. I mean, it's 150 people. They cap it to keep it that small.
That's great.
And this year, Johnny Swim is an artist there. Amanda Cook, who was with Bethlehem Music for a long time, does her own thing now. Dave Barnes, incredible songwriter. John McLaughlin, and then several others were playing there again
and
as well.
us. Eau Claire?
Yeah.
Yep. I'll be there. Excited to be there this year and to check that out. I'm really excited about seeing the Looking Glass rock formation.
Yeah.
And the stars. Like, do you see the Milky Way? And
it's what did Emily say? Like one of the top 5 stargazing destinations in the U.S.
I can't wait.
And you literally wake up, you get out of your tent, which tent sounds campy. This is like glamping.
Glampy.
Like nice tent, rainfall shower, air conditioning. It's really nice. But you open up the flap and it's literally like right there, the Looking Glass Arch.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. So you guys join us. Go check out Heaven on Earth. We'll put the link in the show notes because I don't know what it is, but I don't think it's heavenonearth.com.
It's heavenonearthfestival.com.
That's correct.
Like
I think that's exactly right. Yeah, heavenonearthfestival.com. And consider registering, coming out and hanging out with Eau Claire and all the other fine folks that are going to be on the roster. Yours truly, not on the roster, but I'm going to be there.
Hey, you might just hop in and do
I
something.
might.
Who knows?
She might ask me to do something. I don't know. Anyway, no pressure, Emily, if you watch this show. But anyway, I wanted to pick up today. June is Killer Ideas and Unforgettable Titles Month. All of our shows, our free Monday monthly training, blogs, everything is all on that theme. So I hope that you're following along and adding these skills to your songwriting. But I wanted to just pick up and maybe do a part 2 because there's so much that we could have said in part 1 about it. Because to me, and I learned this at the knee of Bill Gaither, Bill and Gloria. They were tremendous mentors and other people that should get credit as well. But that really helped me see that just because I loved Jesus and I felt inspired by a song or an idea didn't mean that the world was going to. And they really taught me how to elevate the idea itself, to bring universality to it, meaning that the greatest number of people could really appreciate it and identify with it immediately, right? There's that immediacy where you don't have to hear something 4, 5, 6 times before you get it. That's not the kind of music we're writing, right? It's pretty obvious stuff, that it has some emotion to it, that there's something compelling about it. There's originality, singability. There's just something that's sticky about it, that you have those elements. And I find that a lot of writers that we deal with, they feel very deeply about Jesus. They really do. They want to share their hope that they found. Maybe they've been through a trauma, a loss, a divorce or something, or they have a testimony of just how God saved them, like I do in my life. And they want to share that. Or maybe they're worship leaders and they really want to write the kind of worship songs that we sing at church or hear on the radio. But they're more undeveloped as writers. And so that's what we do in all of our training programs. That's what we're doing with this show, is to try to bring as much content as we possibly can. And it all starts with that killer idea. So the way I was trained really was to start with a great idea. And I remember Bill Gaither, I would play my little Jesus songs, for him. And he was so kind. And he would say, wow, this is really nice, and I hear your heart. And then he would say, but who's going to care about this? And who's going to care about this in 100 years? And that was a very revealing question.
Says the guy who's written the most iconic songs in Christian songwriting. Yeah,
exactly.
Who has stood the test of time, maybe not 100 years, but they're well on their way.
Well on their way because they're in their 80s and so they've lasted half a century so far and probably will continue. Their songs are in so many hymnals and music collections, and you think of there's just something about that name, or because he lives, the king is coming, on and on and on. And the other thing that I learned from the Gaithers is that they embrace talented people. And they just about single-handedly launched the careers of people like Michael English and Amy Grant and Steve Green and Don Francisco, if you remember that name. He's alive. He's alive. He's alive, and I'm forgiven. You don't remember that? You don't remember that?
No.
Don Francisco. Don, I hope you don't ever hear this, but Don had this incredible vibrato.
Okay.
And it was like unusual, right? And so it sounded kind of like that. So Don, I'm sorry if you ever hear this, but he's gotten older and he's lost some of his vibrato. But anyway, so what I learned from the Gaithers was really how to put my arms around talented people and encourage and mentor. And that's so much of what I do and what I'm hoping to pass on to folks like you and Jack Landis, the intern, running the behind the scenes today on our podcast, and just everyone we work with. And that's what I think that's a key to success. Help enough other people find success and you'll always be successful.
Totally.
But I digress.
Yeah.
So I learned how to really focus in on a great title. So there you go. I thought we'd pick up today a little bit with some ways to do that. And we talked in part 1 this month, 2 weeks ago, about journaling. And I want to point out 2 or 3 things that I think journaling does. And jump in here anytime, young man. So first, it gets us writing and using words. I find that a lot of times people have been busy all week. They've got jobs, they've got kids, they've got mortgages, they've got taxes, they've got annoying bosses and things that are going on. And then they finally get to Saturday morning. They ship the kids off to gymnastics and the wife is getting her hair done. And they sit down to write. And guess what?
Nothing comes out.
Zip. Nada. Nothing. Why? Because they're just empty. They've not been feeding their intellect. They've not been using any words.
Yeah, journaling's a great way to do that. I mean, getting your thoughts out of your head and onto paper and just being able to process what's going on through the week, like you said. I mean, you can't expect to just go, and then sit down once and spill out everything that's brilliant and amazing, right?
It's called writing on empty, right?
Yeah.
So I had an experience years ago. There was a very, very popular book series Jack Canfield did, sold millions of these things, like the Chicken Soup for the Soul series.
Yeah, I remember
And
this.
I mean, this has been a while back. This has been 30 years ago because I was over all the songwriters and the publishing department at Integrity at the time. And because of my visibility, the Chicken Soup for the Soul people contacted me about writing a chapter and being featured.
Oh, cool.
Chicken Soup for the Christian Songwriter's Soul.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that
That's
crazy?
Cool. Yeah.
I sucked. I totally bombed this thing.
No.
And I'll never forget. I mean, I wrote this really flowery thing. It was like Shakespearean or something. It was just so stupid. And the editor, when she read it, she said, "I'm so sorry, but we can't use this because it doesn't sound real and it doesn't sound she said authentic maybe. And she said, and I don't have time to teach you how to write."
Ooh, ouch. Ouch.
I could have had a chapter in a multi-million, number selling book series, and I totally blew it.
Whoa.
And how did I do that? I didn't do my homework. I didn't know how to write a chapter. Now today, I think I could ace it, right? I think I could do it.
Yeah.
Of course, they don't do that series anymore, but I totally blew that opportunity because I wasn't in the flow of what they needed. And I think that's a great example. You've never heard that story before,
No,
have
I'm
you? It's a
intrigued,
new one. I know you've.
I have a question.
Okay.
Because you got the opportunity, did you just kind of take a stab at what you, or do you feel like you over-engineered it? Like you tried to be too creative, too flowery, and it just didn't work? Or
I think it definitely was too flowery.
Yeah.
And I definitely overworked it. And you know what I didn't do was I didn't do my homework to see what the other
What other
chapters
people
were
had
like
done.
that.
Yeah.
Maybe it was arrogance. Maybe it was fear. I don't know what it was.
Sure,
It was definitely stupidity.
Yeah.
And so I lost that wonderful opportunity to be a Chicken Soup for the Soul best-selling author by not doing my homework.
Wow.
And so I think that happens a lot with Christian songwriters is they want the world to like whatever it is they do without really investigating what it takes to really be a great songwriter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so my point in bringing that up is that journaling and dealing with words will more than likely help you understand how to work with words. And if you sit down on Saturday morning and you're all tired and everything, and you don't have any great words rolling around in your brain, how do you think you're going to write any?
Yeah.
You're going to be like, just expecting God to drop it on you. And I think that's just a huge mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that story, man, it hits me because it's like the context does matter, right? So people who come into Christian songwriting and they're like, I have this great idea I've never written before, but I'm expecting my idea to be a major success or stand out. But they have no idea what else is working or I think there's a balance there of like being unique and creative and new, but also understanding the context of what you're even trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, you don't. I mean, your story is a great example. You limit your influence or impact when you don't do your homework. To like, that's. I hate that happened for you, but that's such a helpful perspective and story to like think of. Yeah, do your homework, know the context, and work within that.
And don't be arrogant and stupid like I was.
Yeah.
You know, It really, I mean, so journaling does some great things for you because it gets you using words. And I think the second thing it does for you is that it surfaces hidden song ideas, phrases, and hopefully even some great hook lines as you learn to look for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you find, we talk about rhyme and alliteration over and over and over, because God created the human brain to remember rhyme and alliteration. That's why we can all recite Mary Had a Little Lamb.
Yeah.
Or, you know, row, row, row your boat. You know, we remember those things. They stick with us from childhood because of the rhyme and alliteration. Yep. And songs are no different, but we often miss that when we're just relying on a blank mind, you know. And if you sit down with an empty head, you're probably not going to write a great song.
Right.
I mean, what are the odds, right?
Yeah. No, I definitely get that. I'm in, you know, dad land with young kiddos right now, and I'm amazed at the memory and the sharpness. Like my 3-year-old, I actually taught her Holy, 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 the hymn.
Aww.
And so she's singing like God in three persons, blessed Trinity. She doesn't know what all those words mean yet, but the fact that she can like just grab those songs so quickly and so easily, because like you said, the melody and the lyrics and everything working together, it's amazing what a great song and a great combination of things can do.
That's so fun. It must be fun to hear her sing. And
oh, it's amazing. I have a video. I'll show you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think one more thing I'd like to point out before we take a quick break to talk about our NCS community. The third thing journaling does for us is to help us develop our personal voice. Just like in prose, you know, all those years ago, I didn't have a voice, so I was just trying to make a bunch of stuff up, and it didn't work. We have a voice in songwriting as well. You with Eau Claire, there is a voice, a particular kind of artistic voice in your songs, the way you create your music. And even if I'm writing for someone else, if you know me and you know my catalog, you can kind of see, you know, that's Chisum's voice. I've developed a thing that I am, and that's what journaling does. And so I think that in the beginning, we have to imitate the voice of others because we don't quite have our own. But if we really dig into what words are and how God created them and gain the insights and the principles that we teach around here, and then get good coaching, get good feedback, then you could be well on your way.
Totally.
Well, let's take a quick break. I want to encourage you to strongly consider joining us at NCS Community. Bryant leads the group every Tuesday, 11:30 Central. It's just such an amazing and growing group of dedicated Christian songwriters all over the world. We're so excited about the community. And so anyway, watch this quick break and we'll be right back. What would it feel like to have 52 weeks of access to the right people in Nashville? People who've been making music for decades. People who can answer every question that you have about what pro-level music making is all about. Well, you can get that and more by joining NCS Community. Our community is a group of worldwide dedicated Christian songwriters who want what you want, to glorify God with your gifts and to get your music out there. I hope that you'll consider joining NCS Community today. All right, so we're back. This is Killer Ideas and Unforgettable Song Title Month, following the NCS 2025 Songwriting Challenge Guide. Check out the show notes. I really want you to do this. I think this is going to be a big game changer for you. Even if you feel like you're a seasoned songwriter, it doesn't hurt to just kind of refresh the chops, sharpen the saw just a little bit. I'm also very excited about next week's podcast because we had Sarah Kroger in the studio recently. Love her music. If you don't know Sarah Kroger, she is deep. She's so awesome. She was very vulnerable in the interview and talked about the dark night of the soul that she has been going through. We got really kind of transparent in the show, and I shared some of my own struggles with that and just reconstructing after a season of deconstructing even my basic faith in Christ. So we got pretty vulnerable in the show, but I think you're going to really enjoy it. I love her music. She has a new devotional out called Belovedness that's based on her top streaming song by that same title. I think you're going to really enjoy Sarah. Well, I wanted to pick up, Bryant, with some ways. We talked about journaling and some of the ways that can really help writers get into their voice and identify phrases and just really begin to learn how to use words, because a lot of people are pretty undeveloped when it comes to lyric writing, and that's what our coaching programs are all about, NCS Community. I hope people will really consider joining that because you're doing a great job with it. We're giving them great ways to join with a free 14-day trial, monthly payments. You know, it's just if your calling is real, I believe it's worth investing in. So anyway, all right, well, let's don't jump off on that because I can talk about that forever. Yeah. I wanted to point out maybe two or three ways that I can feel inspired listening to music. And you, as an incredible musician, I wanted you to respond maybe to some of this. You're a producer, a great musician, great songwriter. Sometimes I can hear a lyric fragment that could be developed into a whole new song. Yeah. We pointed out in the show 2 weeks ago that you can't copyright a title, and you really can't copyright a fragment, right? And so I wrote a song many years ago for the Gaither Vocal Band with my dear friend, the late Bill George, and it was called Fool for Lesser Things. And it was a hit for them. This has been 30 years ago, but this is just as an example. And you're young, but you probably heard Billy Joel's song, "Oh, for the longest time." Remember that? Yeah. Oh, okay. So there's a verse, and he goes, "I don't care the happiness it brings." And he goes, "I have been a fool for lesser things." And I thought, dang, okay, that's a title. And so I grabbed that. It's got rhyme and alliteration, right? Fool for lesser things, right? So you've got L's and the F's, and it's just a cool phrase. So, wrote a hit song with a fragment, right? Has that ever happened for you? When you're listening to music, has anything ever jumped out lyrically or even melodically for you as a producer and musician? Yeah. I mean, I think we're always, when I'm coming up with a melody, especially in a writing session or something where it's like, here's a lyric idea, let's come up with a melody. And I just, whatever is in my head, whatever comes out, I'll just start there. And you have to imagine that if you're consuming music and listening to songs all the time, there's going to be something that comes out that's been already done, or, I go back to a song that I helped on the guitars for a Passion City Church. They had a song called "I've Witnessed It" that I ended up playing guitars on the demo. And then, but in coming up with those parts, I played something that was just came to mind initially. And then the producer was like, "Oh yeah, that's a Bethel song from like 10 years ago." I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure. Right? Sure." So let's go and tweak it a little bit, change some notes. So I think it's inevitable that there's going to be things that come to you that's already been done, or it's already a song. Or if you're like, if you come up with the piano part of like "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey or something, it's pretty obvious, right? But there are little subtleties, and inevitably somebody's going to be like, "Oh yeah, that's that song." And you're like, "Oh great, I got to change it a little bit." But yeah, it happens all the time. And you can tweak it a little bit, Yeah, I mean, changing one note, right? That changes the melody, that alters the thing. So really, even if you just change an ending note or one in the middle, you've got something new, even though it may have come from something, just like your example of the lyric. Yeah. I released a song called Hold on Me just a couple of months ago that features Phoebe Scott, who is amazing, and produced by Greg Williams, who's amazing. And the song started, there's a Joy Oladican song that I just loved the feel of that song. And so I contacted one of the other producers we use, and I said, could you like drop a beat for me? Because I'm terrible at tech, and I just couldn't figure out how to grab that rhythm that I heard, right? It was just kind of a drum feel, right?
Yep.
Just a beat. And I wrote an entire lyric about the Holy Spirit that had nothing to do with Joy Oladican's song, and you'd never. And when Phoebe and Greg and I got together and wrote what became the final version, it's not even close. I mean, it's not like you would say, "Oh, they're ripping off Joy Oladican." We weren't, but the inspiration musically was that for me. You know, Spirit of the Lord got a hold on me. It's fun. You know, you remember that one?
Yeah.
So. And when I walked into the session and I had an entire lyric, Phoebe and Gregatron, they just like were so excited because usually we start from scratch and maybe a title, and then we would just start, building the thing from the ground up. But they loved the fact that I walked in with a completed lyric, but then we completely deconstructed it and we kept what was working. And but then built it out. So you guys check out "Hold on Me." It's a fun song.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I'm a big Andrew Ripp fan. And so when we were working it out, I'm like, could we maybe like get this in the, kind of the vibe that Andrew does? Andrew's been on the show before. Love that guy. And I just love the vibe of what he does, It
almost goes back to what we shared a couple weeks ago, which is like sitting with an idea and refining it over time.
Yes.
Is so important because you may have had, and maybe your original idea would have been closer connected to like, oh yeah, that sounds just like that. But because you brought other people in, you refined it, you made something unique and new and fresh, even though that original inspiration was from something else. I think that's huge. That's important for people to know. It's like, rather than just blurting out the idea and going, this is it. It's like, well, maybe that's where it started, but where does it need to go to become something new and original and fresh?
I'm going to rant for just a minute because that triggered something in me. I think that because we deal with Christian music, there is that spiritual element that gets confusing to people sometimes, right? Because when we feel inspired and we say, God gave me this song, I think what we're really expressing is that we felt something emotionally or spiritually, and we get confused with that sometimes. And we kind of convolute the craft, and we stunt the process, is what you're just saying, right? I'm validating that, and I think it's because there's that spiritual overlay, and we confuse what a great song is with the way we feel about something. And you're right, we took a long time to develop that. It started with just that beat that I heard, on the Joy Oladican song, which I still love. I love that song. But, and I think that also brings up another insight, is that a lot of times writers, I find, are not very eclectic in their listening. They're just not listening enough. They just don't know what's going on musically, and they bring something that sounds like maybe it was written in the 70s or 80s, and you know what I mean?
But they're claiming to like want to do something in a more modern vein, like oh, I want to do what Phil Wickham's doing or Lauren Daigle or whoever it is, but then they bring something that sounds like it's from 1985, and you're like, clearly you're not digesting it enough, or you're just relying on old inspiration to bring your ideas to life, That's so good. And it is difficult at times to bring people into a current idiom. It is, yeah. So, for sure.
Because that's the way they hear it in their head. And I think that again, we talk about coaching a lot because we do it, every single day. And I don't think some people can hear the difference.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I can see that. Well, and people, if you're operating by yourself, it's really hard to have that feedback or constructive, or I guess an objective view of what you're doing. I think of Jay Davids, who's an artist that we've worked with here at the collective, and we've totally talked about this, but his lean is to produce and to like write things in a little more of like a 90s kind of style,
Stephen
right?
Curtis
Like
Chapman.
Stephen Curtis Chapman, early CCM stuff, which is cool. So when we were producing his stuff, we were trying to find this happy medium of like modern, but also ticking those nostalgic kind of boxes of like, let's not totally lose that, because I think that's part of what you are, but let's do it with a little more modern influence or flair. And so we found a nice middle ground.
And that's where production can really help too, if the song can be skewed a little more modern.
Yeah.
We have a number of modern hymns kind of floating around the collective right now, some things that are going to be coming out, and they are definitely hymns, but, we can produce them a little more Getty's kind of modern hymns. Not that everything the Gettys do is modern, but
or like Living Hope, like Phil Wickham's Living
exactly.
Hope.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have a suggestion. This is one of the exercises in the original Song Builders Blueprint, and back then we still had iTunes. Now we just have Apple Music, but I called it the iTunes sweep. I do it with Spotify now more than anything, and that is to pull up a playlist. Now, I know on Apple and Spotify you can do themed playlists, but back in the day when I wrote this, what I encouraged people to do was to really just take 10 minutes even, or 15, whatever you can manage, and listen to 30 or 60 seconds of songs and go from one song to the next, to the next, to the next. Don't listen to the whole song, and don't even think about it. Just really breeze through, browse some songs, and don't even try to figure it out, but just get a current playlist.
Yeah.
And just go 60 seconds at a time, 30 seconds at a time if you don't like it or whatever.
Yeah.
And just kind of elevate your understanding of what's going on. Because it's overwhelming. There's so much music.
Yeah.
I actually love Spotify's folk and indie playlist, and I listen to that a lot. And number one, I just like the way it sounds when it's on in my office, but I get a lot of ideas. That's where I found Joy Oladican, was she came on one of those playlists. I didn't find my all-time favorite artist, Pokey Lafarge, on Spotify. I actually found him. He came up on YouTube.
Oh, nice.
Just one of his videos came up, and you know me, I'm like a dyed-in-the-wool Pokey fan now. I mean, I love Pokey.
Yeah, you went to see him in St. Louis, right?
I did, man. I still live for that next time I get to see him. But the point being, he's such a unique artist. But if you can learn to listen eclectically, you're going to be a better songwriter. And if you understand more of what's current and what's going on in any genre that you desire. Last month was genre and style month, and just a quick reminder, steep yourself in the genre you want to write in.
Yeah.
And this is one way to do it, is by doing an Apple or Spotify playlist sweep. Don't get caught up in any one song. Just go song, and just feel what it's like.
I love that. I think the more you can bring into your world and build your perspective, the more creative you can be, right? The more ideas you can have. That's not like I hear this song and I'm going to copy this song. It's like you might be putting together a new idea based off of 30 songs, off of an indie folk playlist, or off of,
That's really insightful. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that we're all just creating from our inputs, right? So what are you putting in? Are you reading? Are you listening? Are you just observing nature and creation and like having creative inputs so that you can actually output? That's pretty much everything, right?
It's all derivative work anyway, we're standing on the shoulders of the Gaithers and so many people that have, gone before and have blazed this trail. And so we get to pull from all these different places and bring them together and do something fresh and new, and every successive generation has its voice. It's really, really exciting. So, hey, good show today.
It's great, man.
Bryant, this is great. So I'm going to go ahead and land the plane here. I love this. I love this month because this is where I live, is talking about killer ideas and unforgettable titles. It's how we train writers. So many of our NCS Collective artists are really beginning to hit big with their streaming. Howard Grip is doing well. Anya Lee is doing well. Our collective itself is doing well. And it's because we're teaching these principles. And these are the things that we work with you every week in NCS Community. So I'm going to ask you to strongly consider joining NCS Community, or even considering NCS Pro Song Mastery. Our next group opens on July 7th. I'm on the phone with you right now. Look in the show notes for the link. Set up a phone call. It'll be with me. We can talk about your songwriting and your goals and what you feel God is doing through you and your music. Next week, we have Sarah Kroger. I'm so excited about that. June actually has 5 Mondays, so we have prepared a bonus podcast for you with Bryant and Justin Barnett and Kyle Kicker, who is a drummer. Great last name for a drummer. The group Eau Claire. It's going to be so much fun. Go ahead and check out their first and newest single with the collective called You, Me, the Kids. It's awesome. Like it, share it. Please do that for our show. And tune in next week. If there's any questions you have, drop us an email at info@NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. Thanks to Jack Landis, the intern behind the camera today, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us on today's show. If you got some value, please help us share the love. Leave a like and a share and a good review. Be sure to check out everything that we have to offer you at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. We'll see you next time.